EBSCOR, the experimental program to stimulate competitive research, is a National Science Foundation grant program. The goal of EBSCOR is to strengthen science and engineering research and education throughout the United States, and to enable states like Wyoming to be nationally competitive in these areas. EBSCOR aims to improve scientific infrastructure in Wyoming and build science, technology, engineering, and math research capacity across the state. One way Wyoming EBSCOR helps strengthen science research and education is through student programs such as the Summer Research Apprentice Program, also known as SRAP. SRAP is an intensive 6-week paid research experience for high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors aiming to attend college. It offers students a hands-on research opportunity in science labs across the University of Wyoming campus. Students work one-on-one with a faculty mentor throughout their time in the program. SRAP not only provides students with a paid internship and real research experience, but also helps prepare them for college life.
Miss Savannah Pham from Geriatric, California, and she will be presenting knowledge of and personal experiences with depression among rural baby boomers.
Hi guys, I'm Savannah, and my study was knowledge of and personal experiences with depression among rural baby boomers. This summer I worked with Dr. Christine McKibben and Catherine Kitchen-Andrew. Okay, so some background on depression. Depression is predicted to be the second most disabling disease in the world by 2020, the first being ischemic heart disease. Some symptoms of major depressive disorder, the most severe type of depression, include depressed mood, markedly diminished interest or pleasure, significant weight loss, insomnia or hypersomnia, psychomotor agitation or retardation, fatigue, feelings of worthlessness, diminished concentration, and recurrent thoughts of death. In order to be diagnosed with major depressive disorder, a person needs to display at least 5 of these symptoms for a 2-week period. So there are 3 main categories that the causes of depression fall under. They are biological, psychological, and psychosocial. Such causes include, but are not limited to, medical illnesses, genetic susceptibility, endocrine changes, behavioral aberrations, psychodynamic aberrations, cognitive aberrations, stress, grief, or financial struggles. Some background on geriatric depression, which is another term for depression in older adults. Geriatric depression actually doubles the risk of developing heart disease or dementia. 1 to 5% of community-dwelling older adults suffers from major depressive disorder, which is the most severe type, while 8 to 20% suffer from subsyndromal disorder, which is the less severe type. However, these rates of depression actually increase among primary care patients, such as hospital patients or nursing home patients. And depression is expected to be more common among soon-to-be older adults than previous cohorts of older adults. The study is important because the population of older adults is expected to increase dramatically, especially because of longer life expectancies and the fact that these baby boomers are growing older. By the year 2030, 1 in 5 adults in the United States is expected to be 65 years or older. And geriatric depression oftentimes goes undertreated or underrecognized based on the fact that older adults are more likely to describe their symptoms as just being physically ill or tired. They're less likely to say that they feel sad or depressed. And not only that, but there's a lot of misinformation on geriatric depression, the main being that most people believe in the misconception that depression is a normal part of the aging process. Baby boomers are a unique cohort, and little is known about how much knowledge they have of mental health literacy and their experiences and perceptions of depression. Not only that, but these older adults are expected to lead less traditional retirements, meaning that while previous cohorts were willing to just play the occasional rounds of golf or stay at home, these older adults are more actively seeking exciting retirements. And being a baby boomer who lives in a rural community adds to the complexity, an additional layer of complexity to the knowledge that they have of depression just based on unique traits and values that come with living in a rural area. The purpose of the study was to understand how much knowledge the baby boomers have of depression, as well as their experiences with depression to include causal or protective factors. And results of the study will be used to provide recommendations for future educational programs and trainings on geriatric depression. So for our methods, participants, 8 men and women, were invited to participate in this study. In order to participate in the study, they had to meet the following criteria of: 1, they were an early baby boomer, meaning they were born between 1946 and 1954. 2, they resided in a non-metro county with a population of 2,500 to 19,999, not adjacent to a metro area. And 3, they were able to provide informed consent. So for our procedure, 16 semi-structured open-ended interviews lasting 30 to 60 minutes were conducted. All of the interviews were audio recorded and then transcribed verbatim to assist with data analysis. And participants received $20 of compensation for their participation in the study. So for data analysis, a grounded theory approach was used to formulate the framework. Grounded theory aims to methodically turn data into codes and those codes into themes. The coding framework was developed using constant comparison analysis, which is conducted in 3 stages. The first being open coding, where an initial code list is created. The second, axial coding, where large identified segments of text are analyzed. And the third, selective coding, where emergent themes are refined and combined. Iterator reliability was established by having 2 people code specific pages of an interview and compare results to ensure consistency in the analysis. A combination of documenting the codebook development and creating saturation tables was used to ensure that data analysis or data saturation was reached, meaning all relevant information was obtained from these interviews. So for our results, 5 central themes emerged within the data, and they were labeled as 1, normal part of aging, 2, debilitating, 3, cowboy up, 4, need for fulfillment, and 5, flatlining. So for our first theme, normal part of aging, with the data gathered, it can be seen that participants believe depression was extremely prevalent and a normal part of the aging process. Within the interviews, they made statements such as depression affects all people, it's a natural cycle in life, and it's pretty common among people my age. For the second theme of debilitating, participants also believed depression was incredibly serious, often describing it as absolutely debilitating. While describing consequences, participants said things such as depression led to the inability to act, inability to feel, and you could even go as far as committing suicide. While discussing the etiology or causes of depression, participants referred to 3 major things: stress and grief, genetics, and disengagement. One participant said things like loss of job, loss of friends, loss of spouse, family members cause depression. Another said depression can be generational, it can go through families. While another participant said if they don't have a circle of friends they can interact with regularly, they could have a higher risk of developing depression. For the third theme of cowboy up, participants also described the cowboy mentality they felt came with living in a rural community. And the cowboy mentality is basically that idea of self-sufficiency that and being able to take care of oneself, which often results in a negative stigma about depression within rural areas. For example, participants said things such as, it's a cowboy way, and you cowboy up, and you're supposed to deal with these problems, and it's not something to be talked about. Another said, living in a rural area, we tend to become more self-sufficient. Another indicated the stigma attached to it in a place where people assume that they're in charge of themselves. For the fourth theme of need for fulfillment, when asked about what they thought could prevent depression among their cohort, participants indicated a desire to be engaged and have a sense of fulfillment. Participants brought up being physically and mentally active. Another said, don't isolate yourself from other people. And another participant emphasized having a greater purpose in life by saying, I haven't found anything that works as well as serving other people. For the fifth theme of flatlining, among the 16 participants, only 5 of them had personal experiences with depression. However, all 16 were able to describe a family member or friend's experience with depression. While discussing these experiences, participants also indicated the differences between men and women when it came to experiencing depression, in that females are more likely to discuss their feelings and emotions, while men did not want to talk about them. That's why females are more likely to seek treatment for depression. The term flatlining, signifying a sense of apathy or helplessness, was also a recurrent theme within explanations of these experiences. Participants said things such as, nothing matters, just unhappy, just flatline. While another said, when you're in it, you're just swimming and you cannot get anywhere and it just gets murkier and murkier. So for our discussion, it can be seen from the study that although many may recognize the prevalence of geriatric depression, there's a prominent misconception that depression is a normal part of the aging process. However, studies have shown that life satisfaction actually increases as we age, so depressive symptoms should not be brushed off or ignored. Participants were able to identify the severity of depression and its consequences, especially through the term flatlining. However, none of the participants were able to identify the different types of depressive disorders, such as major depressive disorder or dysthymia. Within rural areas, it can be seen that the cowboy mentality prominently affects depression stigma, and participants highlighted engagement and fulfillment as means of preventing depression. In conclusion, future educational programs should emphasize that depression is not a normal part of the aging process, and combating stigma in rural areas associated with the cowboy mentality should be a priority. Greater sense of purpose or fulfillment and increased engagement are factors that may help prevent depression among members of the baby boomer cohort, especially as they begin to enter retirement. It's also important for healthcare providers or physicians to keep track of baby boomer social networks, as they're associated with well-being among older adults. Increased awareness of geriatric depression through educational programs or campaigns may lead to better diagnoses and improved overall health and well-being among older adults. For my acknowledgments, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Christine McKibben and my graduate student, Catherine Kitchen-Andren, for mentoring me throughout this project, and Wyoming SRAP Program and National Science Foundation for funding the Summer Research Apprentice Program, Lisa Beta, the SRAP coordinator, all the SRAP staff and SRAP students for a memorable summer. Any questions? Yes?
How do you have any ideas of how to address the stigma associated with this for older adults? I know there's a lot of work on outlets for this stigma.
What we really want to do is just have, hopefully we can go into like either like nursing homes or like senior citizen centers, because really like we want them to be more like engaged within society, and hopefully if we're more open about depression, because usually people don't want to talk about depression. If we're more open about it and they see that society is more open and willing to accept it, then hopefully they'll be more open to it and we can help work with them so geriatric depression isn't such a big issue as before. Yes?
You define the term that you use several times, flatline or flatlining.
Flatlining was a term, it's not really a dictionary term, but we created it because when they were discussing, like we asked them, how do you think people experience depression? And a lot of them said, flatline, flatline, flatline. So what my mentor and I decided to like really define it as was just feeling apathy or helplessness, or not just being like you're not able to get anywhere, you're just stuck and you're there. Any other questions? Yes.
What will Dr. do next with the study? Will it be a longer participants? Will it change like the questions in the interviews or what?
I'm actually not sure about that.
I could add something to that. I'm working with Savannah, and we looked at this with these interviews. We've also looked at treatment preference. So what we hope to do is investigate ways that community gatekeepers, like clergy members or other people that are article care professionals, how ways that they can help identify older adults in the community and hopefully use them as resources to increase knowledge in this group and get them to treatment for those who may be falling through the cracks and not getting treatment.
Yes.
How did you find your participants?
What we did was, my mentor actually conducted a study a few years back, but what she did was she would put flyers up in the community, she would put like a toll-free number, so then that way, if participants were interested in the study, they could call and they could also refer other people to the study. Anyone else?